All right, let's get into it. We're talking about New York City's massive and, let's be honest, often messy journey to build its digital future. This is a story about huge ambitions, some pretty fierce debates, and a really fundamental question. How exactly should a city serve its people in the 21st century?
And really, it all boils down to this one question. When it comes to something as essential as the internet, should a city just rent access from private companies forever? Or should it actually own and control its own network for the long haul? That's the high-stakes debate we're going to unpack. So let's dive right in.
So our story really kicks off with this huge consolidation, an attempt to create a single, powerful digital nerve center for the entire city.
When Mayor Eric Adams first came into office, he decided to take all of the city's sprawling, separate tech agencies and smash them together into one unified body. The goal here was to break down those frustrating government silos and, just get stuff done more efficiently.
And so the Office of Technology and Innovation, or OTI, as pretty much everyone calls it, was born. Think about it. Everything from citywide IT and data analytics to the supercritical NYC Cyber Command, all suddenly under one roof. The mission sounded great: make government run better and, maybe most importantly, tackle the city's infamous digital divide.
And that brings us to OTI's first really big test, going after one of the biggest equity issues facing New York today. Who has access to the internet and who doesn't?
Right out of the gate, the new office launched this flagship program they called Big Apple Connect. And the scale here, it was just enormous. The program aimed to give free high-speed internet and basic cable to over 330,000 New Yorkers living in 220 public housing developments. Just like that, it became the biggest municipal broadband subsidy program in the entire country.
Now, you can really hear the pride in that quote, right? The city's first CTO, Matthew Fraser, was pointing to this program as a major win, clear proof that they were delivering on their promises. But, and this is a big but, the way they did it is what sparked a huge debate.
And this is where you see the two competing philosophies clash. See, to launch Big Apple Connect, the city had to scrap the previous administration's Internet Master Plan. That plan called for a huge public investment. We're talking billions to build out city-owned fiber optic cables. Big Apple Connect, on the other hand, just uses city money to pay private cable companies. So you see the trade-off: a quick fix for affordability now versus owning a long-term public asset for the future. Rent versus own.
Well, you can probably guess what happened next, right? That decision put the new tech offices directly in the crosshairs of auditors and the city council, who started asking some really tough questions.
Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez, who heads up the Technology Committee, she did not hold back at all. Her critique really gets to the heart of the argument. Was the city just renting its digital future from the very monopolies it should have been competing against?
And during some pretty intense hearings, the council laid out its case. They pointed out that, hey, OTI never even did a cost-benefit analysis to justify its choice. It had no real plans to help other low-income New Yorkers. And maybe worst of all, it basically wrote its contracts to make sure only the big cable companies could get the money, shutting out smaller providers.
But the heat wasn't just about internet cables. The criticism started piling on about how OTI was handling another huge technology: artificial intelligence. An audit from the state comptroller was pretty brutal. It basically found that New York City had no real citywide rules for how its agencies could use AI. It was a total free-for-all. You had agencies like the NYPD using AI tools without ever checking if they were accurate or biased. The basic guardrails for public accountability, they just weren't there.
So with all this pressure building from all sides, something had to give. And it did. A new mayoral administration brought in a new leader with a totally different philosophy. And you can really see the shift right here. The first OTI era, under Matthew Fraser, was all about getting stuff done, these big, fast projects. But the new era, under the new CTO, Lisa Galumpter, is all about public interest technology, which really just means focusing on making sure technology is designed for and actually serves the people who use it. It's a move from projects to people.
And the new CTO, Lisa Galumpter, who, fun fact, was actually part of the team that developed the animation tech used to create GIFs, she laid out her vision crystal clear. The goal wasn't just to roll out new tech for the sake of tech. It was about using it to actually improve services, beef up accountability, and, reflect what New Yorkers really need.
Okay, so a new vision sounds great, right? But what does this new chapter actually look like for the average New Yorker? How is this new people-first idea actually changing the city? Well, it means you stop focusing on just the grand announcements, and you start fixing the little things that drive people absolutely crazy when they deal with the government.
So let's take something like trying to open a new childcare center. It used to be this absolute nightmare of paperwork, endless emails, and phone calls. The new OTI actually worked with the providers and built a single online portal. So now you can apply, upload your documents, schedule inspections, and track your application status in real time, all in one place. It's a perfect example of what they mean by public interest technology, just using tech to solve a real problem for real people.
And that brings us right back to our big question. New York's tech strategy has swung wildly, from public ownership to private subsidies, and now to this user-centered design. Every new mayor brings a totally new vision. So the ultimate challenge is this: can the city ever build a digital foundation that's strong enough to outlast any single administration, or is its digital future just always going to be under construction?